What would you do if you woke up one morning to find your land stolen, dug up, destroyed, and repurposed, without anyone asking for your permission? Ethan jolted awake to a deep, guttural noise vibrating through the walls. At first, he thought he was dreaming, maybe a tractor from a neighboring farm. But the noise didn't stop. It rumbled on, relentless, unnatural for an early morning. He groggily reached for his phone. 6 a.m. Too early for any kind of work, especially on his land. Still half asleep, he shuffled to the window, pulling back the curtain. His breath caught in his throat. There, right in the middle of his property, was a massive hole in the ground. And not just any hole, a deep, wide crater filled with murky water. A bulldozer sat nearby, engine still running, its metal treads pressing down on soil that had once been untouched. A small crowd stood around, admiring the scene like it was some great achievement. Then he saw her. Karen. The self-appointed queen of the HOA. Clipboard in one hand, an infuriatingly smug smile on her face, her short, meticulously styled bob untouched by the morning breeze. She was talking animatedly to a small crowd of HOA members, gesturing toward the hole as if unveiling a masterpiece. The way they nodded in unison made Ethan's stomach twist. His heartbeat thundered as he stormed outside, not even bothering to grab shoes. The cold morning grass numbed his feet, but he didn't care. His land. They were on his land. What the hell is going on? His voice cut through the morning air like a whip. Karen turned, her expression lighting up with fake enthusiasm. "Oh, good morning, Ethan. You're just in time to see the final stages of our brand new community pond. Isn't it wonderful?" Ethan blinked. Once. Twice. Then at the gaping wound in his land. Then back at her. Community pond? His voice was eerily calm, but his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. "That's my land, Karen. You dug a damn pond on my land?" Karen let out a condescending chuckle, placing a hand on her hip like she was scolding a misbehaving child. "Ethan, we had a vote in last night's HOA meeting. Everyone agreed that a pond would add value to the neighborhood." His vision blurred at the edges. "I'm not part of the HOA." She waved her hand dismissively. "Technicality. You live within the community, and honestly, Ethan, you weren't using this land for anything productive. We thought we'd put it to better use. Imagine the kids fishing here, families having picnics by the water. It'll be wonderful for everyone." Ethan inhaled sharply, trying to control the sheer rage boiling inside him. She stole his land. Destroyed it. And now, she had the audacity to act like she was doing him a favor. Then, as if to add insult to injury, Karen's voice took on a sickeningly sweet tone. "Oh, by the way, I left something in your mailbox. A little notice from the HOA." Ethan's stomach twisted as he turned toward his house. His gut told him whatever it was, he wouldn't like it. Ethan's hands were already shaking by the time he reached his mailbox, but it wasn't from the cold. He yanked the small metal door open and pulled out a crisp white envelope stamped with the HOA logo. His name was printed neatly on the front, but when he tore it open and scanned the contents, his blood boiled. It was a fine. $500. For **unauthorized land use **. Ethan let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Unauthorized use? Of his own damn land, **. He stormed back toward the pond, the letter crumpling in his grip. The HOA members were still gathered, clapping politely as Karen prattled on about community improvement. He shoved the paper into her hands. **. You want to explain this? **. Karen glanced down at the letter and gave an innocent shrug. "Oh, Ethan, it's just a small community contribution. Nothing to get upset about." He took a step closer, voice dangerously low. **. You're fining me for my own property **. Well, she sighed, as if explaining something to a child, since the HOA voted to build the pond, your interference is technically an obstruction of a community project, and HOA regulations clearly state that obstructing neighborhood improvements carries a fine. Don't take it personally, Ethan. It's just protocol. His jaw clenched so tight his teeth ached. He wanted to yell, curse, rip that smug clipboard out of her hands and throw it into her precious pond, but then something inside him clicked. Karen wanted him to explode. She thrived on it. She needed him to make a scene so she could play the victim. No. He wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. Instead, Ethan took a deep breath, forced his expression into something that resembled calm, and smiled. You know what, Karen? Enjoy your pond. Her smile faltered just slightly, eyes narrowing. Wait, what? But Ethan was already turning away. Oh, she was going to regret this. That night, as the neighborhood still buzzed over their shiny new pond, Ethan sat at his desk, making calls. First to a land surveyor, then to a lawyer, and finally to a construction crew. By the time he was finished, he leaned back in his chair, his rage slowly transforming into something far more dangerous. Satisfaction. The next morning, Ethan didn't bother showing up to Karen's official grand opening of the pond. From the porch, he could hear the cheers, the laughter, the splash of kids tossing stones into the water. Karen's voice carried across the yard as she gave yet another self-congratulatory speech. ***, a place for peace and relaxation. A testament to our wonderful community spirit, ***. Ethan smirked to himself. They had no idea what was coming. But even as he waited, he could already see the problems. The water was seeping into the lower part of his land, turning the soil into an unworkable mess. The pond itself had no proper drainage, which meant that within days, it would start to stink. Mosquitoes would breed, and come the next heavy rain, that thing would overflow into people's yards. But none of that mattered. Because the pond's days were already numbered. That evening, Ethan received confirmation from his lawyer. Karen had no legal standing. The pond was illegally constructed, the use of HOA funds was questionable at best, and the fines she had slapped on him? Completely unenforceable. But then, another call came in. From the surveyor. Ethan frowned as the man on the other end of the line let out a long sigh before saying, you're not going to like this, Apparently, Karen had cut every possible corner to make her pond a reality. She had hired an unlicensed construction crew, a group of men who, according to county records, had been sued before for property destruction. One of them had even been banned from operating in the next town over after botching a drainage system and flooding several houses. And now, they had torn up Ethan's property. Something dark and satisfied twisted in his chest as he muttered, perfect. Because now, he didn't just have anger. He had leverage. At the next HOA meeting, Karen was still riding the high of her success, grinning as she flipped through her notes. The room was full, with HOA members eagerly awaiting her next grand plan. That's when Ethan stood. I have a question, he said, voice deceptively light. Did you happen to get permits for that pond, Karen? She barely looked up. Oh, Ethan, we discussed this. It was an HOA-approved project. Ethan held up a folder. That's funny, because I checked with the city. And there's no record of any permits being filed. The room went still. Karen's smile tightened. Well, And, Ethan continued, I also took the liberty of looking into the construction crew you hired. Did you know that one of them has a criminal record for property destruction? A few people in the audience gasped, someone muttered, wait, what? Karen's fingers gripped her clipboard so tightly it looked like it might snap in half. This is ridiculous. I did everything by the book. Ethan tilted his head. Did you? Because the city doesn't seem to think so. Because half the neighborhood is about to have waterlogged yards. Because the people you hired weren't even licensed. Because you used HOA funds, without approval, on an illegal project. The HOA members started whispering among themselves. Karen's confidence cracked. For the first time, she looked nervous. And Ethan? Ethan just smiled. Because this was only the beginning. Ethan barely slept that night, but it wasn't because of frustration anymore. It was anticipation. By morning, the wheels were already in motion. The surveyor had confirmed everything Ethan needed to know. Karen's so-called community pond was not only illegal but a potential environmental hazard. The soil wasn't stable, and without proper drainage, the water was already starting to spread beyond its boundaries, creeping into other parts of the land like a slow-moving infection. Ethan didn't bother waiting. At exactly 9 a.m., the first set of trucks rolled in, *** bulldozers, dump trucks, and a full construction crew, ***. The noise was deafening, but it was nothing compared to the pure, soul-shattering scream that erupted from across the street. ***, what do you think you're doing? Karen came sprinting toward him, clipboard in hand, her perfectly bobbed hair slightly out of place for the first time since Ethan had met her. She was waving her arms like a madwoman, shouting over the roar of the machinery. Behind her, several HOA members stood in various states of shock, their mouths agape as the bulldozers lurched forward and started filling in the pond. ***, you can't do this. This is a community resource, ***, Karen shrieked, her voice cracking. Ethan turned to her, face impassive. ***, no, Karen. This is my land. And I'm reclaiming it, ***. She looked ready to combust on the spot, ***, you're destroying something people love. Families were already using this space, ***. Ethan crossed his arms, watching as a massive scoop of dirt was dumped into the murky water. ***, that's funny, Karen. Because last time I checked, you never got permission to dig this thing in the first place, ***. Karen's mouth opened, then closed, her eyes darting toward the HOA members for support. But they weren't backing her up anymore. In fact, some of them were slowly stepping away, realizing just how deep she had dug herself into this mess. Oh, and one more thing, Ethan added, pulling a crisp document from his pocket, ***, this is a cease and desist letter from my lawyer, ***, it outlines the multiple violations you committed by using HOA funds without a permit, hiring unlicensed workers, and constructing a structure on private property without consent. Karen snatched the paper from his hands, her fingers trembling as she scanned the words. Her face paled as she reached the last section, where the consequences were clearly outlined. Fines. Potential legal action. HOA misconduct investigations, ***. You wouldn't dare, ***. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Ethan smiled. ***, oh, I absolutely would, ***. The bulldozers kept moving, and the pond was disappearing before her eyes. The once pristine water turned to muddy chaos as the land was restored to what it had been before Karen's power trip. Karen stood frozen, watching her beloved project crumble. But she wasn't done, not yet. Ethan could see it in her eyes. And he was right. Later that afternoon, as the last of the heavy machinery rolled out, Ethan noticed a city inspector's car pulling up to his driveway. He smirked to himself. Right on schedule. Karen must have made the call the moment she realized she couldn't stop him. The inspector stepped out, clipboard in hand, a professional but neutral expression on his face. Behind him, Karen was positively vibrating with satisfaction, arms crossed like she had already won. "I assume you're here about the construction?" Ethan asked casually, stepping onto his porch. The inspector nodded. We received a complaint about a potential zoning violation regarding a barn being built on this property, ***. Ethan barely held back a laugh. ***, of course, You did, ***. Karen stepped forward, her voice practically dripping with fake concern. Yes, officer, we are deeply worried. Ethan's new barn could be a safety hazard. I mean, what if wild animals are brought in? Disease? Unsanitary conditions? The whole community could be at risk. The inspector raised an eyebrow and turned to Ethan. Do you have the proper permits for this structure? Ethan didn't say a word. He simply reached into his pocket, pulled out a neatly filed set of documents, and handed them over. Karen leaned forward, eagerly waiting for the inspector to find something, anything to use against him. But the inspector simply flipped through the pages, nodding as he went. After a moment, he looked up at Ethan and said, everything seems to be in order. This is fully compliant with city regulations. There are no violations here, Karen choked. What? The inspector, unfazed by her reaction, handed the paperwork back to Ethan and jotted down a note on his clipboard. There's no reason to pursue this further. Have a good day, Karen's face turned an alarming shade of red as the inspector walked back to his car. She turned on Ethan, practically shaking with fury. You did this on purpose, she hissed. You planned this from the beginning, Ethan shrugged. You dug a hole in my land without permission. I just made better use of it, Karen let out an unintelligible screech and stormed off, heels pounding against the pavement so hard Ethan thought she might crack the ground herself. As she disappeared into her house, Ethan let out a breath and turned back toward his property. The pond was gone. His land was his again. And Karen, Karen was finally losing. But Ethan knew she wasn't done yet. No, someone like Karen wouldn't go down without one last desperate move. And he was going to be ready for it. Ethan barely had time to enjoy his victory before Karen launched her next desperate attack. She had been humiliated, publicly embarrassed in front of the entire HOA, and now, she was clawing for whatever shred of power she could still grasp. The next morning, Ethan's mailbox was stuffed full of papers. At first, he thought it was just another round of pointless HOA newsletters, but when he pulled out the top envelope, his eyes narrowed. A formal complaint. Filed by Karen personally. He flipped through the papers, scanning the accusations with growing disbelief. According to Karen, his barn was an unacceptable eyesore, a nuisance to the community, and a blatant disregard for HOA standards. She had even gone as far as to claim that several residents had personally complained about how the structure ruined the aesthetic harmony of the neighborhood. Ethan exhaled slowly through his nose, trying to keep his temper in check. Karen had lost the pond war, so now she was trying to burn the entire battlefield. Fine. If she wanted a fight, he'd give her one. He didn't even bother knocking on her door. Instead, he marched right up to her porch and rang the doorbell twice, hard. Karen answered almost immediately, as if she had been waiting for him. She wore an infuriatingly smug smile, her arms crossed like she had already won. I see you got my notice, she said sweetly, as if she hadn't just tried to destroy months of his hard work. Ethan held up the complaint. Let me get this straight, you dug a pond on my land without permission. You wasted HOA funds on an illegal project. And when I built something legally, you're calling it a nuisance? Karen didn't even blink. Yes. The barn is ruining the look of the neighborhood. Several residents have expressed their concerns. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Who, exactly, Her smile faltered slightly. That's not relevant. Ethan let out a dry laugh. Oh, it's relevant, ***, because I've spoken to almost everyone here, and guess what? They actually like the barn. Karen's jaw tightened, but she recovered quickly. Well, that doesn't matter, the HOA rules clearly state that any new structures must align with the community's visual standard, your barn does not. Ethan shook his head in disbelief. Karen, you do realize I'm not part of the HOA, right? Her eye twitched. That may be, but your property still affects the community. Ethan exhaled sharply. No, Karen. What actually affects the community is you stealing HOA funds to build a pond on land you didn't own. And I'm willing to bet the city will be very interested in hearing about that. For the first time, Karen hesitated, she opened her mouth, then closed it, as if she had finally realized the depth of the hole she had dug for herself, but being Karen, she wasn't about to admit defeat just yet. I have connections, she stammered. I'll take this to court if I have to. Ethan smirked. ***, you really want to go to court, Karen, ***, because I guarantee the first thing they'll ask is where the HOA money for that pond went. And when they find out you authorized it without approval, well, let's just say I hope you've got a good lawyer. Karen's face went pale. She looked around, almost frantically, as if expecting someone to come to her defense, but there was no one. The HOA members who had once hung on her every word were nowhere to be found. She was on her own. That night, Ethan decided to finish this once and for all. He sat down at his desk and fired off an anonymous tip to the local news station. He didn't need to write much, just a few choice details about how the HOA president had illegally spent community funds, built an unauthorized pond, and then tried to fine a private property owner for refusing to comply with her dictatorship. It was enough. The next day, a news van pulled up outside Karen's house. Ethan watched from his porch, arms crossed as a reporter and a cameraman knocked on Karen's door. She answered, and for a brief moment, her expression was pure horror. But Karen was Karen, she snapped into performance mode immediately, flipping her expression into one of false confidence. She smiled for the cameras, tried to spin the narrative. "Oh, I was only trying to improve the community," she gushed. "I worked so hard for this, and unfortunately, some people just don't appreciate progress." The reporter wasn't buying it. They pressed her for details. ***, did she have permits for the pond? Where did the HOA money go? Why were fines issued to non-HOA members? ***. Karen stammered through her answers, but she was crumbling. And when the segment aired that night, it was worse than she could have imagined. The footage of her stammering, her contradictions, her desperate attempts to redirect blame, ***, it spread like wildfire, ***. By morning, Karen was the talk of the entire town. People who had once feared her HOA tyranny were laughing at her. And then, at exactly 9:00 a.m., an email hit Ethan's inbox. It was short. Straight to the point. Karen had resigned from the HOA. Effective immediately, ***. Ethan leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. It was over. Karen was finally gone. The neighborhood felt different the moment Karen was gone. It was as if a storm had finally passed, leaving behind clear skies and fresh air. Without her constant surveillance, people started relaxing. Kids played in their yards without fear of violating some unwritten rule. Neighbors gathered outside, chatting freely without worrying about Karen swooping in with a clipboard and a passive-aggressive smile. The HOA still existed, but with new leadership, it focused on things that actually mattered: fixing sidewalks, organizing real community events, and keeping the neighborhood safe, rather than nitpicking mailbox colors and grass height. And as for Ethan? He finally got to enjoy his land in peace. But he wasn't done yet. A few weeks after Karen's resignation, he sent out invitations to the entire neighborhood, except for her, of course. He was throwing a barn-warming party, complete with food, music, and even a few rescued farm animals for the kids to pet. He had converted part of the barn into a small community animal shelter, giving abandoned livestock a place to live while also turning the space into something positive for the neighborhood. People loved it. Families showed up with homemade pies and drinks, eager to celebrate something good for once. Even residents who had once been loyal to Karen came, laughing about how they had dodged a bullet by not supporting her until the bitter end. And then, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Ethan saw her. Karen. Standing at the edge of the street, watching. Her expression was unreadable, but Ethan didn't need to guess what she was feeling. She had lost. Completely. For the first time since she had moved here, she had no power, no influence, and no one backing her up. She turned, disappearing into the night. A few weeks later, a moving truck appeared in front of her house. She was gone by the end of the month. No grand farewell, no final attempt to claw back control. Just a quiet exit, as if she had never been there at all. The HOA had thrived without her. The community had grown stronger, more connected, and Ethan? He had won. Karen thought she could take his land and get away with it. She thought she could push him around, the same way she had bullied everyone else. But in the end, all she did was dig her own downfall. So, have you ever had to deal with a Karen or an HOA nightmare like this? How did it turn out? Share your stories below. I bet someone out there has an even crazier one.